President Cyril Ramaphosa has sent a stern warning to those who will be protesting on Monday that no violence will be tolerated. The EFF, which is organizing a national shutdown, is demanding President Ramaphosa's removal from office and the end of load shedding, amongst other issues. At a press conference on Wednesday, EFF leader Julius Malema assured South Africans that all essential services will be protected and those workers will have access to their workplaces. The president says whilst people have the right to protest, anarchy is not an option. Ramaphosa was speaking in Pretoria during Tanzania and President Samia Suluhu Hassan's state visit to the country.
Apart from bilateral engagements with South Africa's longtime ally Tanzania, President Cyril Ramaphosa took the opportunity to address domestic issues. The president did not mince his words, saying that law enforcement agencies will be on high alert to protect the country should there be any violence during the EFF's national shutdown on Monday.
And I wanted to say very clearly, disorder and anarchy will not be allowed in South Africa. We will not allow those who want to spread anarchy to do what they like here in South Africa. We are a constitutional democracy. Yesterday we had a meeting of our National Security Council and we discussed this. And the security forces of our country are going to defend our people. They are going to make sure that intimidation, anarchy and disorder does not prevail. But those who want to protest, by all means, you protest peacefully. But if you are going to restrict the rights of other people, if you are going to coerce them, if you are going to intimidate them and unleash violence, our security forces are going to defend the people of South Africa.
The Minister of Electricity, who has recently visited Eskom's power stations, also weighed in, saying he understands the anger of South Africans over load shedding.
Like I said, I'm going to come back to the public and announce to them what are these concrete measures that we are taking to ensure that we bring into life, if you like, the energy action plan as introduced or unveiled by the president. So I'm more than confident that we are going to reduce both the intensity and regularity of load shedding.
President Ramaphosa also touched on the energy crisis. He says through the energy plan that was implemented last year, government has embarked on a drive to source energy from other countries like Tanzania to transform South Africa's energy network.
Getting energy from other countries is an ongoing issue. We did say when we released our energy action plan last year in July that one of the initiatives we're going to embark upon is to procure surplus energy from our neighbors, a number of countries on the African continent. At the last check, and I'm going to be getting further checks, we had procured some 300 megawatts and we were now going to upscale that to a little higher than the 300 megawatts.
Asked how South Africa could expect investors to invest in the country with its current problems, this is what the president had to say.
I do believe that the energy plan that we've put in place will enable and encourage a number of other investors to realize that indeed they can come and invest, because we've also embarked on a self-generation plan, and we've also embarked on renewable energy generation, and all that should be able to encourage people, particularly the efforts that we are making to give attention and repair and service our currently installed fleet. There is progress that is being made in this regard. We are going to be holding our investment conference in April.
Meanwhile, Deputy President Paul Mashatile made his first appearance as the country's second in command at the state visit. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Pretoria.
Meanwhile, South Africa's executive has characterized the EFF Monday national shutdown as an attempt at regime change. Minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says the EFF's attempt is too undemocratically to undemocratically remove President Cyril Ramaphosa from office. Police Minister Begicele says there will be a higher police deployment across the country to make sure the citizens are safe and can conduct their business peacefully.
Cyril Ramaphosa's executive and the security cluster are making necessary plans to protect citizens from the EFF's planned national shutdown. The South African National Defence Force is also on standby to be deployed to prevent any chaos or destruction of property that may take place. Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Nchaveni, has warned any individual who will destroy or disturb other citizens' rights that they will be met with the full might of the law.
The only demand, which is the basis for this protest action, is the plan to remove President Ramaphosa from office through unconstitutional means. What we want to inform all is that regime change through unconstitutional means will not be tolerated, and it will not happen in South Africa. Anyone with ambitions to govern this country must wait to contest the 2024 general elections.
Minister of Police Begicele says the police will be out in their numbers across the country to protect citizens, business people and tourists. The security cluster ministers have called on South Africans not to be scared or intimidated but go about their normal business on Monday.
Want to assure everyone in the country that the 20th of March will be a normal business day. We want to reiterate to our international community that, contrary to the pronouncement by those advocating for any disruption, all ports of entry, land, sea and air will be operational. Measures have been put in place to ensure that everyone who wants to go to work, travel for leisure and conduct business on this day does so in a safe and secured environment. There will be high police visibility.
The EFF has vowed to shut down the country and all operations, but their plans seem to have hit a snag as major role players in the economy have refused to shut down their businesses. Government, on the other hand, is making plans to avert any destruction of public and private property. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Pretoria.
Political analyst and conflict resolution expert Dr. Kingsley Makhubela joins us now to share his thoughts about the planned shutdown. A very good evening to you, Dr. Makhubela, and thank you so much for speaking to us once again. Good to talk to you. So let's just first start, the point of departure being the President's characterization of this as anarchy or fears of anarchy, and we heard the cabinet meeting saying that this should be seen as an attempt for regime change, and simply put an attempted putsch. What is it, and what has been said and what has been posted and how the discussion has been framed leads to these characterizations?
Good evening, Tsepiso, and always a pleasure to talk to you. I have listened to different leaders talking today, but what is missing in what they are saying, the President included, the Minister of Police included, is to provide assurance that the right of those who are going to demonstrate will also be protected. Demonstrations are enshrined in our Constitution. People have the right to demonstrate, to picket. And I think we should not characterize any form of demonstration as intended to come up with regime change. I don't think it's a correct characterization for people who intend to demonstrate whatever grievance they have. We've in the past seen a joint demonstration of the EFF and the DA, where they actually marched to ESCOM and actually advocating for the resignation of the management of ESCOM. No one has ever said that some form of a regime change at ESCOM and so on. I think it's incorrect to categorize it as such. However, the President is quite correct that these demonstrations must be peaceful. There mustn't be any violence. But given the history that we've seen in the country, in the past, demonstrations have tended to be violent, all sectors. And I think that's what we need to manage and mature as we move forward. But we must be careful not to allow any form of dictatorship to curtail the right of people to demonstrate. I think once we do that, it's going to be a disservice to people who fought so much for this right.
As you say, the right to association, expression and assembly enshrined in the Constitution, but I want to talk about propaganda during times of political contestation. We've seen reports, some suggesting that there have been tires found in random places in areas that are considered to represent the marginalized, and that this suggests that these tires are going to be lit during the protests. And how do we separate truth from fact in such a politically heated environment where, for instance, you have the DA saying it's going to go to court in a bit to interdict the shutdown because of the danger it poses, even though the EFF says it has actually made an appeal to people in those areas where it's going to protest not to resort to violence or looting?
I must say, Tsepiso, that the leadership of the EFF has been very responsible in terms of their mobilization for this demonstration. They have appealed for non-violence. I think we should take them on face value and accept that they are not going to be violent. And I hope they will put some measures in place to ensure that there's no intimidation, there's no violence, no destruction of property at all. We have no reason to believe that they intend to stage a violent demonstration. I think it's unfortunate for the DA really to go to court to interdict a free speech in this country. And I think the court would definitely take a total different view in terms of the. We've seen demonstration even by the DA. Remember, Tsepiso, when the DA was marching to Lutuli House, people were saying that if they do that, they will be mad with violence and so on. They marched there and there was no violence. Why do we think that the EFF it's intended to unleash some form of violence? I think there's misinformation that is spreading on the social media to try to discredit the intended demonstration. I may not agree with the EFF in terms of what they want to do, but it's their right. It's enshrined in the Constitution. Once we start to curtail that, are we moving towards dictatorship? I mean, it's really unfortunate to hear even the Minister of Defense saying the whole defense force is on standby. On standby to do what?
And I actually wanted to get to that point, Dr. Makhubela, because so some people are saying, given what happened during the July riots in 2021, this is why people are frightened, are on edge. And I want to understand if the circumstances can be said to be parallel, similar, or even identical. The Minister of Defense saying that for too long now, the security cluster has been seen as benign or has been benign in such situations. And I wanted to understand what that meant, how this protest is being seen that would lead to such a statement.
The July 2021 event was not a demonstration. That was the total undermining of the state institution. It was the unleashing of violence and looting. I haven't heard anyone from the EFF saying that they're going to loot anything. I think really to make comparisons of the two is really unfortunate. This is a demonstration, and a demonstration is allowed. And I think let the EFF be given the opportunity to go and demonstrate. Let them mobilize those who believe in the demonstration, but let them not at the same time coerce those who don't want to become part of it. And I think we should be very careful. But I'm saying in the past, and I think moving forward, we really as a country need to manage and deal with the question of demonstration, because we've seen demonstration at Tsepiso by the taxi industry that would shut the whole road and force even those who are not demonstrating to join them. I think that's unfortunate. I've never seen the military be mobilized to go and deal with the tax industry? Why there's such a frantic action of mobilizing the country's military to go and deal with the EFF? I haven't heard anyone from the EFF saying we're going to be violent. Of course, they're going to demonstrate and express their views that the president should resign. It's their right to do so.
Dr. Makhubela, I need
we
to ask
may not
this
all
question.
agree with what they are saying, but it's their right to do so.
We have run out of time, but I just want to understand, are there political underpinnings that are being inferred on this protest that do not exist or are being extrapolated that will actually be divisive? Because we've seen that some trade unions are going to take part in this demonstration because they too feel that the quality of life in South Africa demands such action. But also, are there people who actually agree with the reason for marching but who don't want to come out publicly and say we agree because it's the EFF?
It's our country. Those who want to demonstrate, let them go and demonstrate and express their views. But let at the same time respect those who want to continue to carry on with their daily duties. And I think it's the responsibility of the state and the government in this case in particular to protect even those who are demonstrating. I mean, I've heard the minister speaking, the minister of police speaking, that they're going to be out in force to protect citizens. No one is saying we're going to be out in force to protect even those who want to peacefully demonstrate. I think it's the responsibility of the government to protect people who want to freely express their views. And I think we should do that. We are a constitutional democracy. We are not a dictatorship. We can't mobilize the military to go and deal with a simple demonstration unless they are not telling us what intelligence they have that tells them there's going to be violence. If they have intelligence, let them take action against those who intended to unleash violence and leave those who want to peacefully demonstrate.
And thank you so much for your time. I wish we had more. Dr. Kingsley Makhubela, political analyst and conflict resolution expert. The stated aim of this national shutdown is for President Cyril Ramaphosa to stand down and step down rather, and of course protesting against ongoing load shedding.